welcome back to On the Flip Side. My name is Adam Shawwalker, and today we are going to be covering the first record from Rick Astley, 1987's Whenever You Need Somebody. Rick Astley's first and best-selling album, Whenever You Need Somebody, sold around 15 million or so copies. Chances are you already know who Rick Astley is, so we're not going to delve too deeply into the lore today, but we are going to give you the track listing here, and we're going to do a proper review of this record. Track listing is as follows. Side 1, we have Never Gonna Give You Up. Track 2 is Whenever You Need Somebody. Track 3 is Together Forever. Track 4 is It Would Take a Strong, Strong Man. Track 5 is The Love Has Gone. On side 2, we have track 6 with Don't Say Goodbye. Track 7 is Slipping Away. Track 8 is No More Looking for Love. Track 9 is You Move Me, and track 10 is When I Fall in Love. So we're going to give this album a listen, and we'll come back to you on the flip side. Alright, we are back with side 1 of the record. First track, obviously, very little introduction needed, Never Gonna Give You Up. I don't think I'm really going to need to say much about this song in particular. This track's meme status has elevated this track from a mere audio experience to an ascended state of eternal shitpost godhood. Though, with that being said, this track is unironically very good. We're no strangers to love. You know the rules. So do I. Track 2 is Whenever You Need Somebody, the title track off of this record. This song tonally feels a bit like a continuation of Never Gonna Give You Up. Whenever You Need Somebody showcases Rick's vocal talents really, really well. This song only grooves harder as it continues and proves, in my opinion, that the record here is better than even just like this memehood status that Never Gonna Give You Up has given it. This track specifically, I mean, most of this album really almost feels like a continuation of Never Gonna Give You Up, almost like he's never going to give up this style in this track listing. It is absolutely brilliant, and it just keeps on going on throughout most of these tracks. Tonally, I mean, there's some shifts here and there on this first half of the record, but overall, I mean, all of these synths and stuff, they're all falling around to the same kind of keys here, and they're just being used to like really great effect. So Whenever You Need Somebody is really, really, as a title track for this record, excellent, excellent song. Track 3 is Together Forever. It's interesting listening to this album and this song because this like dance pop tempo really, really roots itself deeply in this genre. And this kind of tempo and this beat really carries itself all the way into songs that you would hear in like the 90s, such as like Rhythm of the Night or even like What Is Love. It's all kind of hitting that same kind of dance tempo. And this album came out in like 1987, so just this kind of style just carried over for so long. I mean, just listen to some of these 90s dance tracks, and I swear they almost have the same tempo as Together Forever. This song is almost like a blueprint or like a cornerstone for those later tracks that would come in the following decade. With that being said, pretty standard dance pop track here with pretty tight synths. Rick's voice is smooth on this track again. Just overall, really great track on this thing. He's not really knocking it out of the park on this one, but it is a very, very, very solid track. Track 4 is It Would Take a Strong, Strong Man. If there was going to be another song on this album that would become elevated to memehood status, I think that it should be It Would Take a Strong, Strong Man. And I do have some explaining to do there. This song, to me personally, is an anthem for day drinking. And let me take a moment to explain to you why. At my local record store, there's a man who's been working there for 20 years. He's a close personal friend of mine, so I won't be revealing his name. Our friend who worked behind the counter of this record store has been there for so long that he is one of these guys. He's ended up on some of the merchandise for this store. He's on some of the t-shirts, he's on stickers, so you cannot get rid of this guy. He is so deeply ingrained in this store's culture that he is there forever and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's not really a bad thing because this guy has got a soul, man. And this track specifically is the day drinking song for this man who works at this record store. And when I say that, I don't mean like light day drinking. I mean like you come in on a Monday morning and this absolute unit of a man has spent the entire weekend basically blasted so far out of his gourd that when you walk in, you can see the sheen behind his eyes is completely gone until he looks at you and recognizes you and goes, "Hey, dude!" And you know what's playing? This song. every time, and it is blasting so loud, and it is like 11 in the morning. This track transcends just very good song status to personal memehood status. It is almost an inside joke that I wish I could share with the world, because the experience of watching someone completely wasted at 11 in the morning blasting "It Would Take a Strong, Strong Man" and singing every one of the lyrics to the track while completely blasted this early in the morning is a beautiful thing. And, you know, the guy's shirtless, he's rolling around on the floor, he's breaking bottles, he's making no attempt to hide any of his drinks, and gosh, I would be lying if I said it didn't make me tear up a little bit because of how beautiful the sight is. This track should be a meme. Hashtag "It Would Take a Strong, Strong Man 2021. With that being said as well, all of the lyrics on this thing are incredibly catchy, and the solo towards the end of this thing kind of pops out of nowhere. It's this really, really nice, tasteful guitar solo. Like, there's not really too many effects on it. I think it's just like a light touch of reverb, and it is just really, really tight. It's a great, great solo at the end of this thing. Rick singing on this track is heading down this more emotive direction too, like sort of like the whole love themes from earlier on in the album are really like amping up. Like the passion here is just like being cranked up a notch, and it is done really, really well to nice effect. I think that this is by far one of the best songs on the record, if not the best song on the record, and my personal favorite. So if you've not listened to "It Would Take a Strong, Strong Man," absolutely listen to it. Grab yourself a beer at 10 in the morning and just start going to town, man. Go out in public and, you know, just jam this song and start yelling it at anyone you cross paths with. They will definitely remember you. Track 5 on the record is "The Love Has Gone." This song has a really big, sexy hook right at the beginning of this, carried by these high-pitched synth notes. Rick's voice, once again, is kind of heading further down this very emotive, like a little bit darker path on this thing. It's almost like this album is like starting to move away from just dance pop territory into borderline concept album about the intricacies of love, because these themes are just sort of heading down these different paths and like dark avenues, and we'll see what happens on side 2 of the record. I don't really remember. I haven't listened to this album quite a while, but if I remember right, a lot of this stuff kind of gets pulled together towards the end there, and just these emotive tones and really, really wonderful delivery of all of his lines just really pulls this thing together nice and tight. The chorus, once again, infectiously catchy, and the beat on this thing really can't help but make you move. This is a surprisingly wonderful track, and is probably another one that is just like a really big highlight of the album. Really nice choice putting it at the end of side A here. Very memorable track. That is all of the tracks for side A. We are going to flip this thing over and come back to you on the flip side. Alrighty, we're back with side 2 of the record. Track number 6 on this thing is "Don't Say Goodbye." One of the dancier, funkier songs on the album. This track's funky beats are really well juxtaposed by Rick's darker lyrics about love and loss. These themes continue to build over the course of this song to Rick's increasingly passionate lines about things not needing to be a certain way, and these catchy choruses continue again for another very memorable track on this album. The tight instrumentals on the song are pumped up again for a very good dramatic effect. Really great introduction to side 2 for this track. Track 7 is "Slipping Away." The funk influences on their song are dialed up all the way up for another sexy, sexy hook that is just expertly executed by synth and guitar and bass. This is just slowly heading further through Rick's journey of like heartbreak and loss. The saxophone solo on this song is really, really great, and with these darker themes, it kind of just helps add to like the effect. Like the saxophone on this thing, it feels like that Ministry record I had reviewed a while back had like this really like weak saxophone solo in it, and it feels like a lot of this is like, oddly enough, the synth pop kind of influences that this thing kind of draws a bit, even though this is more dance pop than synth pop. It feels like this is just like hitting kind of all of like the right spot. It's definitely amped itself up a bit to just like really feed into those specific niche kind of feelings on this album, and the saxophone solo here is just brilliant. Track 8 is "No More Looking for Love." Just like, God, the beats on this album are really, really incredible. Everything that has been put down here is just a sampler artist's wet dream. This song sees Rick's wants and needs and desires starting to be fulfilled a little bit more thematically, falling in love again. The beat on this song may also be one of my favorites. It's a little bit more low-key, but it is a really solid beat. Track 9 is "You Move Me." We get an almost synth-pop-like intro on this track and a similar soundscape to songs from like Tears for Fears or even Depeche Mode. Rick is arguably doing synth-pop on this track better than the majority of synth-pop artists. This song is really amazing with how it switches themes in between like work and play and love just really flawlessly, and it just kind of comes out of left field from this album because it's not like they don't use the word love like a ton of times on this song. It's just like a really catchy song, and it's probably my favorite off of the second side of the record here. It just bops really hard. Track 10 is When I Fall in Love. This final track starts with this really lovely string section. The track almost hits some like Frank Sinatra type sways for this amazing slow song. This song is a perfect example of Rick Astley's versatility in songwriting and delivery. Despite not being another dance pop banger, this final track scratches such a specific itch that just helps close off this album in a really brilliant fashion. As for final thoughts on this record, this is one of those albums that I have not listened to a ton over the years, but whenever I have listened to it, it never ceases to impress me. This album sold 15 million copies for good reason. Just the meme status of Never Gonna Give You Up alone is more than enough of an excuse that you should go out and listen to this album immediately if you haven't already, because there's just so much in this album to dig into, and even though some of the themes of love are a little bit shallow in some ways, I think that Rick is just like really singing his heart out. The beats here are super solid, and overall this album is a great listen. Like, there wasn't a time on this album that I was like, well, god, this is getting played out or boring. It just like, it really just goes hard, and a lot of the paint on this thing, it doesn't let up, and it just wants to keep pulling you through like a lot of these like big like crazy swinging fantasies, and it's just really good. Also, I would argue that another reason that this album is so goddamn good is because this isn't just a regular dance pop album. This is in fact a concept album. Prove me wrong. I will not be elaborating any further on that statement. Thank you so much for watching. Have you listened to this record? What did you think of it? Leave it in the comment sections below. If you don't mind, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this one, and drop a like if you liked the video. Let me know what I should review next, and thank you all so much for watching. We will see you on the flip side.